Hey y'all, here we are, my last Smash video for this year. What a journey it has been! From discussing characters that came from already existing franchises in Smash, to talking about our favorite fighters from third-party developers. And along that journey, the XPref channel also hit 1000 subscribers, which I'm so happy with. So if you have watched these videos, commented your favorite fighters, or subscribed to the channel, then I want to thank you so much for the love and support. I love to do these things, and that kind of stuff makes it all worthwhile. Now, I do have one other video in the works before the end of the year, but it won't be about Smash. But next year we'll start out strong and fresh to deliver you some more great content for you to go over. But before it comes to that, I want to show you one more top 5 before we say goodbye to 2019. And today it will be all about one of my favorite developers of all time, Rare. If you have watched my videos, you will know that I'm a huge Banjo-Kazooie fan, and that I was super happy when they got in Smash. So who else would be great from these guys? Let me know your favorites in the comments, as I like to see those as well. And just so you know, I want to make a separate episode about Microsoft later. But I think that Rare has so many great characters that would fit well in Smash that they deserve their own episode. So be on the lookout for that as well. Alright, let's begin with number 5. Back in the good old Melee days, one character was considered by Sakurai to get added to the roster, but wasn't eventually. Our very own James Bond. You have to imagine that at the time GoldenEye on Nintendo 64 was developed by Rare. And as Nintendo fans know, that game was hugely popular, and still for many a classic when it comes to multiplayer shooters. But as you probably know as well, to gain the rights to such an IP, seeing that you have to go through movie rights and whatnot, the character wouldn't come to the game. And together with that, at the same time Rare would be bought by Microsoft, making it that they wouldn't develop games for Nintendo anymore. And I don't think we will ever see James Bond in Smash, as that would be kind of weird. But a character that has many of the same abilities and attacks is Joanna Dark from the Perfect Dark franchise. When playing Perfect Dark, you will see that the similarities to GoldenEye are immediately apparent, as it looks visually pretty much the same, and the music is composed by the same beautiful being, which is Grant Kirkhope. But it would also be composed by Graham Norgate and David Klinik. I don't think I have pronounced those names correctly, but it's the best I can do. Joanna is everything that you expect of a spy/secret agent. She is very proficient with many weapons, is able to pistol whip enemies in the back of their heads, and is also very skilled with hand-to-hand combat. And like every good spy, she has many tools and gadgets to help her on her missions. If she would get a moveset, I think she would be pretty close to Snake, only making use of more traditional guns. I love this character, and I don't think she really has a chance to get in, but I would love to see her nonetheless. As often I like to do with these lists, I like to add a character that comes from a fighting game, which is mostly because these types of fighters already have a moveset that can fit perfectly in Smash. Just look at Ryu, Ken and Terry. So let's pick one from Rare's fighting game as well, which is Killer Instinct, which you might remember from the screaming announcer. Ultra Combo! Killer Instinct was released as an arcade game in 1994, which would later be ported to the SNES and Game Boy as well. But the game that I remember the most was Killer Instinct 2, or as you probably know it by Nintendo 64's title, Killer Instinct Gold. It was an amazing game with a cast that was really diverse, but also a bit strange. You had your skeleton warrior Spinal, the werewolf man Saberwolf, and the monster hunter Maya. But I think the one that is probably the most prominent figure of the series, and one that would be the most interesting for Smash, is Fulgor. A highly aggressive cyborg that has a helmet that makes him kinda look like a samurai. You can find him often on the cover of Killer Instinct games, which there were only 3 of, but still. He has 2 claws coming out of his arms that are made out of plasma, which he mainly uses for his punch attacks, but he can do more than that. As a cyborg, he can also shoot lasers from his eyes, and he can teleport to attack you from the back. Plus he can shoot beams from his claws to do some ranged attacks. I mean, a moveset for Smash basically writes itself for this guy. But Killer Instinct has a lot of potential for a fighter, and he's just one of the characters that I would love to see. Now this is a girl that really deserves a new game. Cameo! Man, what an awesome project that was! For those who don't know, Cameo is this fairy-like being that's able to transform into different other creatures. These creatures all have their own different abilities that could be used for combat. But not only that, it could also make for ways to traverse different terrains or help with some puzzle solving. You had the ape-like Chilla that was able to climb walls and throw spikes. Major Rune, a type of hedgehog elephant that was able to transform into a ball and destroy everything in its path. And you had Pummelweed, who resembles a flytrap but uses the moveset of a boxer, which makes him very handy in combat. And those are just 3 of the elemental warriors that you can unlock. There were many more to be found. Now I think it would be difficult to incorporate a moveset for Cameo in Smash that includes all these beings. But that would be something that's incredibly fun. That with every side special she would use a different attack for a different warrior. Or maybe she could transform into 2 or 3 of them to use as separate characters. A bit like how Pokemon Trainer does that. Cameo Elements of Power was a great game for the Xbox 360. And it was one of the first games I had for that console as far as I can remember. Luckily, it is still playable on Xbox One with Rare Replay. And if you didn't know, a sequel for the game was in development, but got cancelled eventually. You can see some concept art and test footage in Rare Replay. It was supposed to be a much more dark and aggressive game with a new take on the Cameo world. It seems that much of it also looked way more realistic. But unfortunately this game never came to be. But I do hope we see more of Cameo in a future game. You know what's great? Frogs. You know what's even better? Toads. Yes, of course, how can I talk about Rare and not talk about our favorite beat-em-up toads, the Battletoads? If you are familiar with these guys, you know that we have 3 of them. Rash, Zitz, and Pimple. So if I had to pick one, I have to say Rash, as he is the face of the franchise and also gets included in most other things. Like how he was a fighter on Killer Instinct for Xbox One. But I would also love to see just one moveset with all of them being included as a different skin. Like Rash wearing sunglasses and the other guys wearing bracelets and gloves respectively. So it wouldn't be that difficult to make them stand out from one another. And yes, I know, their attacks are all slightly different in the games, but we could take the best of each of them to create one ultimate moveset. Like Rash's ball and chain and spike boot, Pimple's hammer arm or anvil swipe, and Zed's battle dozer and his drilla killer. Awesome names, awesome attacks. If you have played these games before, you know how much fun they are. It can get a bit tricky, but they are enjoyable nonetheless. These guys like to punch, kick and shape their bodies into heavy strong objects. It sounds weird, but it works really well. You also have some other cool segments like fighting enemies while hanging on a rope and avoiding obstacles while driving on a motorcycle. And as with all Rare games, the music is very good, with some funky action heavy tunes. I think these guys would fit perfectly in Smash, beating up all the other video game characters. And the great thing is, there is a new Battletoads game on the way for the Xbox One. So if they wanted to pair this character with a release on Switch, that would be awesome. But I believe every Rare game should come to Switch. Ah well, maybe one day. Who doesn't love the squirrel with a foul mouth from Rare? Conker! Again, one of those guys that we haven't seen in a long time that most certainly would deserve some more recognition from Rare side. If they would add him to Smash, they would probably have to turn down his dialogue a bit, as Smash has to be for all good boys and girls. Because Conker isn't that good. When you start out with Conker's Bad Fur Day, the first thing you'll notice is that Conker has a hangover, likes to drink, and doesn't shy away from the naughty words here and there. But that shouldn't keep him from being a character, as he does look very cute and his powers and attacks would make him varied enough to make a solid fighter. I mean, his base attack is hitting stuff with a frying pan. We just have to steal that move from Peach. But he also seems to be able to pull items out of nowhere when the situation calls for it, like some TNT and a bottle of beer. So for his specials, there are many options on what you can do with this guy. And I know I cry about this thing all the time, but come on, it's what we all want to see. When we get a new character in Smash, they should also bring a game from that franchise to the Switch. I mean, it's a damn shame already that we didn't get a Banjo-Kazooie game on Switch. Maybe even if they just ported the old games. That would make me so happy. But alas, no. So I would hope if they brought Conker to Smash that they bring a game with it as well. And honestly, I don't think that we will see a new Conker game soon. I mean, if most fans had to pick, I guess they would choose for a new Banjo game instead of a Conker game. And even though I like this squirrel guy, I would go with a new Banjo-Kazooie myself as well. But who knows? Somewhere in the future this mad squirrel might return. So here we are friends, my top 5 of characters from Rare that I would love to see in Smash. But now it is your turn. If you got to pick 5 fighters to come to Ultimate from the good people at Rare, then who would you pick? Let me know in the comments as I like to see what you think about that. Oh, and if you have a favorite third-party developer as well that you want me to go over next, then write it down in the comments too, because I always take inspiration from that for my next video. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, would you mind subscribing to the XPref channel, as I have a whole lot more content on here. And next year there will be much more to be found. About Smash, Nintendo, Zelda, you name it. All your favorite stuff, you can find it right here. And if you want to leave a like, then that's also much appreciated. Thanks again for watching and I will see you next time.